Assalamu alaikum and welcome to lecture number 6 for corporate social responsibility. Today we're going to go a little fast, so I would want all of you to be prepared. What we're doing so far is we're still discussing chapter number 2, and chapter number 2 is about evolution of a company or evolution of a corporation, and we're also discussing evolution of corporate social responsibility with reference to what are the various theories or what are the various things with reference to the corporate governance, the concept of corporate governance as well. Now, this is again what will you learn from this particular chapter. After studying this chapter, you should be able to understand the concept of corporation or a company or a business. You should be able to trace a brief history of corporation. You should be able to understand how modern corporations have come into existence, and you should be able to provide a brief outline of corporate governance and analyze the importance of corporate social responsibility in governance. Now, with reference to this particular slide, what we've done so far in the previous 2 lectures is that we've understood as to what corporation is, and with reference to corporation we've also talked about as to how corporations can be formed, and we've also discussed as to the various different forms of ownerships that can exist in a corporation. For example, it could be a sole proprietor, it could be a partnership, or it could be a corporation or a joint stock company. Then we further went on to discuss things like or concepts like shareholders, and we've talked about stakeholders, and we've talked about dividends, and we've talked about common stockholders or common shareholders, and then we've talked about what is the expectation of a shareholder, and we've talked about fiduciary duties of the management, and then we've talked about the board of directors and what are they supposed to do and what are their duties and where do they fit in with respect to the entire organization. Then we have discussed very briefly how the corporation as we know today have come into being. We started with reference to religious associations that have been there since Middle Ages to date, and we've talked about how they arranged banquets and how they arranged feasts and how they collected money and then used that money for basically medical care and for the society in general. And then we said that then there was a concept of guilds whereby a group of people having similar skills or identical skills would come together. Now, for example, a carpentry guild would be formed, whereby this particular guild or the carpentry guild would consist of all those people who would know or who would have the carpentry skills in them. Similarly, guilds were formed, and then there was something called as a merchant guild, whereby all the merchants, all the traders came together and they formed an association. Again, why would an association be formed? Well, just because whenever an association is formed, it becomes more formalized, it becomes more systematic. People can look after each other's interest, and the whole concept is basically that when we all come together in an association, then we all become a unified force, and then it becomes easier to get objectives, to get goals, to meet whatever targets that you've set for yourself. And then we talked about that with reference to the subcontinent, the first proper charter corporation was the East India Company, the Britishers' East India Company, and then so on and so forth, and that is how your organizations or corporations have evolved over time. Then we talked about the modern corporation, as to that with reference to the modern corporation, you do have board of directors and what kind of fiduciary duties do they have, and then we discussed that in order to control corporations and in order to ensure that corporations do not exceed their boundaries or do not cross their boundaries or remain within the domain given to them, you have lots of paperwork and lots of rules, lots of regulations and guidelines that they have to do, whereby they need to register themselves with the Security and Exchange Commission and file a number of articles, give details for the director, signing authority, who should do what, who will do what, and everything. So basically all these things are guidelines, rules, regulations, which basically purpose of these are that you need to control the organizations, because if you will not control them, the organization can have the tendency to go overboard and start and become as powerful as a modern state or as powerful as a country or a small country as we know it. So that was about the modern corporation. Then we talked about corporate governance, and we said that all codes, all rules and all regulations that would result in the management of the operations of the corporation is what corporate governance is all about. And obviously corporate social responsibility is going to be part of corporate governance. So course हमारा corporate social responsibility है, but अगर आप corporate social responsibility को और बड़े dimension से देखें तो that is part of corporate governance, because corporate governance will have everything. It will look after the interest of your shareholders, it will look after the interest of your stakeholders, it will look after the interest of all parties, big or small, involved. So corporate social responsibility is just a small aspect of corporate governance. And then where we were talking about last lecture, we were talking about various different theories of corporate governance, and we talked about the agent theory, and we talked about the stewardship theory, and we discussed their strengths and weaknesses, and we discussed what they are and how do they affect a corporation. Again, that is where I'm going to start my lecture today, and I'm going to fly through or breeze through the agency theory and stewardship theory, and then talk in detail about the shareholder versus the stakeholder theory, the transaction theory, and the sociological theory. Okay, so that's a quick recap, as quick as I could give it to you for the last two lectures, or for the initial part of the chapter, or of the initial part of chapter number 2. Now just quickly going through your agency theory so that you can develop that spontaneity or हम continuity में चीज़ को पढ़ें. Now agency theory basically deals with the economic relationship between two parties, that is the principal and the agent. The principal is going to be the shareholder in this respect, and the agent is going to be the directors or the board of directors. Now three conditions prevail, or three conditions are absolutely necessary in order for the agency theory to work, or in order for this economic relationship between the principal and the agent to work. The first condition is that the agent has the freedom to choose between various course of action. That means that the board is going to have multiple course of actions or multiple alternatives in front of them, and they have the right to choose whatever is in the best interest of the company, whatever is in the best interest of the corporation, whatever is in the best interest of the shareholders. So that is what the board is expected to do, that choose among alternatives. Now alternatives, I'm sure you know, can be of various types. It could be financial, it could be with reference to growth, it could be with reference to expansion, it could be with reference to taking business to another country. So these are the decisions that the board can make. The second condition necessary to operate this economic relationship is that actions of agent influence their own growth as well as the principal, meaning that whatever the agent do does not necessarily mean that they are going to do it only for the corporation and the principal. The actions of the agent is going to benefit the agent as much as it is going to benefit the organization. How? Because if whatever decision that the agent takes is good, it's going to positively influence the organization, agreed. Now if the organization is going to be good, profitable, growing, automatically that's going to have a positive impact on the agent's job, agent's salary, agent's compensation package, agent's value, and maybe more importantly the agent's ego as well. The third condition necessary to operate this economic relationship is that it is difficult for the principal to observe the action of the agent, as information is not enough. Again, I've told you again and again that the shareholders are going to be geographically dispersed, meaning they're going to be all over, and it's going to be very difficult to have them at one place. Now because of this particular condition, the principal cannot observe the agent. One, because they're not physically present where the agent is. Second is that there's unequal sharing of information. The agent, being internal to the company, obviously will have more information, and the principal, being external to the company, will automatically have lesser amount of information. So there's unequal sharing of information between in this economic relationship between the principal and the agent. Now with reference to this, now you need to understand that the supplier of finance in this relationship is the principal, and the principal would need an assurance that the agent is not going to take the money away and be lost and not be found anywhere. So what in order to ensure, or in order to have that assurance that the agent is going to take good, proper care of the principal's money, the principal needs to control the agent. Now this seems pretty easy when you're reading it, but controlling of the agent by the principal becomes extremely difficult and ineffective and dispersed, because the agent and the principal are not physically present at the same location. अगर दोनों लोग आमने सामने हो, same कमरे में हो, same जगह पर हो, then controlling is very easy. But the agent and the principal might not even be in the same city. So that means that the controlling aspect becomes extremely ineffective, or might become extremely ineffective. Now, what are the problems or the weaknesses associated with the agency theory? Generally, with reference to the agency theory, it is believed that the agent is not going to be a selfless person. The agent is going to think of his or her interest first and then do something else for the corporation or for the shareholder. So basically what is happening is that both the principal and the agent wants to have as much benefits, or would want to have as much utility as they can. Now, with this thing in mind, it makes sense that the shareholder would want it, because they're the ones who've invested the money. But then the agent are basically trustee of that money that belongs to the principal. But when the agent starts thinking of his or her own self-interest and starts working for his or her own self-interest, then that means there's a problem somewhere. For example, just imagine that agent इसलिए एक bad quality raw material खरीदता है because उसको उस डील में एक शेयर मिलता है. Now, just because उस एजेंट का सेल्फ इंटरेस्ट आया, उसने एक गलत डिसीजन लिया और एक बैड डील की, बट उसका इफेक्ट क्या होगा पूरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की प्रोडक्टिविटी, एफिशिएंसी या प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी को. सो प्रॉब्लम्स इन दिस एजेंसी थ्योरी इज दैट यूटिलिटी मैक्सिमाइजर, बोथ द एजेंट एंड द प्रिंसिपल would want utility maximization, and with respect to the agent will not or might not act in the best interest of the principal. Then the second problem with this theory is that there's unequal sharing of information. We've already discussed that before, and I have already told that to you before. And finally, there's this element of risk, because the agent and the principal are not together. The agent is making all decisions on behalf of the principal, and then again the agent cannot be even trusted, because you're pretty sure that the agent, if he gets if he ever gets an opportunity, most probably the agent is going to work for his or her own self. Now, that means that whatever decision, good or bad, is being taken, वो हो जाएगा, implement हो जाएगा, और उसके after effects later on आपके shareholders को या आपके principal को feel होंगे. So automatically आपका risk का element बढ़ जाता है. Now, एजेंसी लॉस, अगेन ये जो रिलेशनशिप की वजह से जो लॉसेस होते हैं वो होते हैं, एंड द प्राइमरी पर्पस इज कि आप उन एजेंसी लॉसेस को रिड्यूस करें. अनदर प्रॉब्लम विद द एजेंसी थ्योरी इज दैट इट इज मोर क्वांटिटेटिव एंड लेस qualitative. So that is again a very big issue with the agency theory. Now, how to overcome these problems that I've just mentioned? One, you need to have transparent accounts, everything out in the open, very clean books that you should have, and then you should have proper disclosures as well, because transparent account honge or disclosures sahi honge, then automatically that is going to keep a check on those board members that they need to do things ethically, they need to do things rightly, and they need to do things justly. On the other hand, agar ye cheeze nahi hoti, to phir that just gives an opportunity to people to do some hanky-panky with the accounts. Again, last lecture mein I also told you that please you need to Google the Satyam Computers financial scam as well, and that will just tell you कि जी जब आप agency theory पे believe करते हैं और आपके transparent accounts नहीं होते और proper disclosures नहीं होते, तो कंपनी कितने बड़े नुकसान से गुजर सकती है या कंपनी के साथ कितना बुरा हो सकता है. So Satyam, SATYAM, I would want you to have Google the story, and I would want you to read that actual life story. Even अगर आप लोग Google नहीं भी कर सकते, I think at the end of your chapter number 1, the same case study is also given, so you can even read that if you do not have internet access. The second way to overcome the problems mentioned in the agency theory is simply by having non-executive independent directors. Now, when you would have non-executive independent directors, they're going to be unbiased, and they're not going to be influenced or pressurized by the other board members. They're going to if they see something wrong, they're going to question it, and they're going to ask questions, and they're going to ensure that it gets rectified very quickly. And when you do not have non-executive independent board members, then everybody on the table or everybody on the board would have a piece of the cake, and most probably if something is going wrong, most of them or almost all of them would be included in that wrongdoing, and they will not say anything. The next theory with reference to the corporate governance is the stewardship theory. Now, the stewardship theory is built on the premise that directors will fulfill their duties towards the shareholders. So if agency theory was here, stewardship theory is right at the opposite end of agency theory, because it basically believes that people are good, it basically believes that people are nice or humans are nice, and the directors are trustworthy and they will fulfill their duties towards the shareholders ethically, responsibly, justly and fairly. The directors are stewards whose motives are aligned with the objectives of the principal. So the stewardship theory also, unlike the agency theory, also assumes that the motives of the directors and the motives of the motives of the principal are aligned. They're together, they're the same, and both of these parties are moving towards the same direction. Now when motives and objectives are aligned, then that results in no confusion, no conflict, no mistrust, because सबको जब एक ही चीज़ चाहिए तो प्रॉब्लम क्या है? प्रॉब्लम तब आती है जब मल्टीपल लोगों को मल्टीपल चीज़ें चाहिए होती हैं, वो मल्टीपल चीज़ें जनरली एक दूसरे के अगेंस्ट ही होती हैं. Directors take into account the stakeholders, but after the shareholders as well. After the shareholders, that means के stewardship theory में, yes, we also talk about stakeholders, but after the fulfillment of the duties of the shareholders first. Now, the strength of this theory is that the trust level in this particular theory is very high, and since you're trusting people, and since you're assuming that they're good, and since you're assuming that they're going to perform properly and rightly and will achieve the objectives which are aligned with the principle, then automatically the motivational levels are very high. Just imagine yourself that you're in a situation where people don't trust you. You're never going to be happy in that situation. When you're not happy, it's going to affect your work as well. Similarly, इधर अगर आप किसी को ट्रस्ट करते हैं तो आपका वो आपकी एक बहुत मोटिवेशनल फैक्टर होता है, और जो भी बंदा होता है या जिसको आप ट्रस्ट करते हैं, जो भी बंदा सिचुएशन में होता है, he or she sort of tends to be motivated. So that's one of the disadvantages. The trust levels are very high in this particular theory, and that results in high motivation as well. Next is new ideas. Now again, everything is going to be interconnected. ज़्यादा trust है, motivation high है. Motivation high होगी, then there's going to be new ideas and there's going to be more opportunity for growth. Why? Because जितनी motivation है, जितनी freedom है, जितनी autonomy है, जितनी empowerment है, automatically आपका जो आपकी creativity ज़्यादा होगी, आपकी innovativeness ज़्यादा होगी, and that would result in more growth opportunities for the corporation. And this particular theory of stewardship is more liberal, and it believes in empowerment. It believes in giving things to people. It does not believe कि hoarding कर लो सब चीज़ें अपने पास. It believes कि जी आप authority, आप responsibility, आप power, आप सब चीज़ें जो है लोगों को उनके respective levels पर दे दो. Now the problem with this theory is जहाँ पर अच्छी बातें हैं वहाँ problems तो होंगी. The problems with this particular theory is that the cause and effect relationship between governance and performance is not very strong. That means कि आप जो corporate governance के activities करेंगे in line with the stewardship theory, there's no hard and fast rule that those governance activities have led to better performance. So the cause and effect relationship between governance, keeping in mind the stewardship theory, and the performance are very weak, and that is one of the biggest disadvantages of the stewardship theory. The next theory, third theory that we will talk about is your transaction theory. Now what is transaction theory? Transaction theory basically assumes that managers seek self-interest. That's the basic purpose of your transaction theory कि जी आपका जो manager है वो self interest के लिए ही जाएगा. Second assumption is that managers operate under bounded rationality. Remember when you did decision making and you discussed two different models of decision making, जहाँ पर आपका एक rational decision making model होता है और एक bounded rationality decision making होता है. Again, if you do not know what bounded rationality decision making model is, आपको you need to go and open up your books. But just a quick recap of this concept. Bounded rationality model says कि अगर आप ऐसी decision making करते हैं which is based on bounded rationality, so that means that the very first alternative or the very first choice that you will come up जो कि आपकी requirements को minimum meet करती है, आप उस पर्टिकुलर ऑप्शन को चूज़ कर लेंगे, उस पर्टिकुलर अल्टरनेटिव के फेवर में डिसीजन दे देंगे. सो जब बाउंडेड रैशनैलिटी होती है तो उसमें ऑटोमेटिकली प्रॉब्लम क्या आती है कि मैनेजर हु ऑपरेट्स अंडर बाउंडेड रैशनैलिटी मॉडल वो सारे अल्टरनेटिव्स को कंसिडर नहीं करता, वो सारी चॉइसेस को कंसिडर नहीं करता, वो सारे ऑप्शंस को कंसिडर नहीं करता. पहला ऑप्शन जो उसको लगता है कि जी प्रॉब्लम को सेटिस्फैक्ट्री रिजॉल्व कर देगा तो वो ऑटोमेटिकली ले लेता है. फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आपको रॉ मटेरियल ख़रीदना है, पहला सप्लायर जो कि आपको रॉ मटेरियल रेगुलर सही प्राइस पर सही क्वालिटी पर दे देगा, आप उससे ले लोगे. इफ यू ऑपरेट अंडर द बाउंडेड रैशनैलिटी मॉडल, यू विल नॉट लुक एट सप्लायर नंबर 2, 3 and 4, सी कि किसकी क्वालिटी सबसे अच्छी है, किसकी प्राइस सबसे अच्छी है और कौन सबसे अच्छा मटेरियल दे रहा है. नाउ व्हेन यू आर ऑपरेटिंग अंडर बाउंडेड रैशनैलिटी मॉडल, यू आर बेसिकली risking everything, because अगर आपकी choice सही नहीं है, then that means that you're going to lose on productivity, you're going to lose on efficiency, you're going to lose on effectiveness, and most importantly, you're going to lose on profitability as well. So that's another problem, I guess, with the bounded rationality model, जो कि transaction theory में use होता है. The third assumption is that selfishly driven to undertake and act transactions that benefit them personally. That means that the managers are again very selfish. Again, this particular aspect is common with the agency theory, and the managers are selfishly driven to undertake transactions that benefit them personally. तो इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि जो बोर्ड है वो उनका जो मोटिव होगा वो बहुत सेल्फिश मोटिव होगा. वो ऐसी ट्रांजैक्शन करना चाहेंगे जो कि उनको पर्सनली बेनिफिट करे. और जो मैंने अभी आपको एग्जांपल दी कि भाई आप एक पर्टिकुलर सप्लायर ने कहा कि जी आप हमसे चीज़ खरीदें बिकॉज वी गोइंग टू गिव यू 5% ऑफ द सेल्स, and that's bribing, right? और उस डायरेक्टर ने जान लगाकर उस कंपनी को कॉन्ट्रैक्ट दे दिया और उसको उसके पैसे भी मिल गए. और जब प्रोडक्ट बनना शुरू हुई तो पता चला कि प्रोडक्ट में रॉ मटेरियल तो सही था नहीं क्योंकि उसकी क्वालिटी अच्छी नहीं थी. सो व्हाट हैपेंस इन द ट्रांजैक्शन मॉडल इज, और द ट्रांजैक्शन थ्योरी बेसिकली अज्यूम्स के जो आपके मैनेजर्स नहीं, आपके जो बोर्ड मेंबर्स हैं या डायरेक्टर्स हैं, दे आर सेल्फिशली ड्रिवन टू अंडरटेक ट्रांजैक्शंस दैट बेनिफिट्स देम पर्सनली. देन दे मेक ट्रांजैक्शंस विदाउट स्टडी एज द मनी इन्वेस्टेड इज नॉट देयर ओन. अगेन I say to all my students, again I'm going a little off track, so you need to bear with me. When you people are spending your parents' money, you're very carefree. अम्मा अब्बा ने पैसे दे दिए, अम्मा अब्बा से पैसे ले लिए, जो दिल चाहा जो चीज़ चाहिए खरीद ली, जितनी महंगी चाहिए खरीद ली. However, you will feel the difference when you start working yourself and when you start earning yourself and when you are making the purchases and when you are buying from your own money. Then the entire perspective changes, because फिर आप हैगल भी करेंगे, आप कम भी करेंगे, आप 1 और 2 और 3 रुपए भी आपके लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होंगे. अम्मी अब्बू के 1-2 रुपए आप वापस ना देना तो आप बोलते कोई बात नहीं, अम्मी अब्बू के पैसे थे क्या फ़र्क पड़ा, अम्मी 1-2 रुपए ही तो थे. बट व्हेन यू आर अर्निंग योरसेल्फ तो फिर वो 1-2 रुपए भी आपको तंग करेंगे, किधर गए मेरे पैसे, 2 रुपए तो थे, 5 रुपए तो थे मेरे पास, वेयर डिड दे गो, एंड यू वुड वांट टू फाइंड आउट कि जी वो पैसा आपका किधर गया था. एंड विद रेफरेंस टू दैट, इसी पर्टिकुलर कॉन्सेप्ट को अगर आप जहन में रखें, देन इस ट्रांजैक्शन थ्योरी में डायरेक्टर्स की इन्वॉल्वमेंट या डायरेक्टर्स की सीरियसनेस टुवर्ड्स डिसीजन मेकिंग इज़ नॉट दैट मच, बिकॉज उनको तो पता है कि जी हमारा पैसा तो नहीं है, नुकसान भी होगा तो हमें तो नहीं होगा, किसी और का पैसा है किसी और को नुकसान होगा, सो क्या फ़र्क पड़ता है यार, डिसीजन लेकर काम ख़त्म करो, वट एवर डिसीजन. एंड इस पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट पर ही, व्हेन आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट, इसी पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट पर ही आपका बाउंडेड रैशनैलिटी का कॉन्सेप्ट अप्लाई होता है. बिकॉज when they are using somebody else's money, they are making decisions keeping in mind the bounded rationality decision making model, and the very first alternative that is going to meet their minimum requirements, they're going to accept that, take a decision on that and implement that, not knowing or not realizing कि जी शायद second option बेहतर था, शायद third option उससे भी ज़्यादा बेहतर होगा in terms of price, in terms of productivity, in terms of value addition. So they are making transactions without study as the money invested is not their own. The strength or weaknesses of this particular theory are that one, सिंस आप ट्रांजैक्शन की बात करते हैं, अगर आप सिर्फ ट्रांजैक्शन को भी स्टडी करें, ट्रांजैक्शन में होता ही है कि जी एक चीज़ दी, दूसरी चीज़ ली, आपने पैसे दिए, उन्होंने पैसे लिए, काम खत्म, लिखत पढ़त हो गई, एंड दैट्स ऑल. कीपिंग दैट थिंग इन माइंड, द ट्रांजैक्शन थ्योरी is very easily quantifiable. अब बहुत उसमें quantitative representations बड़ी हैं. Quantitative के again जब हम बात करते हैं तो I explained it to you in my last lecture as well, that is all about money or figures or numbers. जब numbers को आप यूज़ कर लेंगे ना तो आपके लिए चीज़ों को quantify करना बड़ा आसान है. 5, 4, 9, 10, 10 है तो बहुत अच्छा है, 5 है तो एवरेज है, 1 है तो बहुत बुरा है, 2 है तो भी बहुत बुरा है, 9 है बहुत अच्छा है, 6, 5.5 है, again it's right in the middle. So it is easy for you to judge somebody's performance, be it a company, be it an individual, be it a group of individual, जब quantification या quantifying जो आपके पास एक quantitative चीज़ होती है. So transaction theory में quantification जो है वो बहुत easy है. Second is that shareholders are residual receivers, concerned about safety of investment. मतलब कि this is one of the weaknesses of the transaction theory कि जो आपका shareholder है वो तो हमने पहले डिसाइड कर लिया कि वो वहाँ पर मौजूद नहीं होता जहाँ पर डिसीजन मेकिंग हो रही होती है, जहाँ पर काम चल रहा होता है, जहाँ पर बिजनेस हो रहा है. आपका बोर्ड जो है वो डिसीजन लेता है, उनको इम्प्लीमेंट करता है, उसकी बेसिस पर प्रॉफिट होता है, प्रॉफिट जो है वो डिविडेंड में कन्वर्ट होता है, डिविडेंड फिर जो है वो आगे शेयर होल्डर्स को जाता है. दैट्स हाउ द होल सिस्टम, द होल प्रोसेस वर्क्स, राइट. नाउ विद दैट थिंग इन योर माइंड यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड कि अगर मैनेजमेंट ने गलत डिसीजन लिया, कीपिंग इन माइंड द बाउंडेड रैशनैलिटी मॉडल या द सेल्फिशनेस और द इननेट सेल्फिश एटीट्यूड, गलत डिसीजन लेने का मतलब ये हुआ कि गलत डिसीजन हुआ, उसकी इम्प्लीमेंटेशन सही नहीं होगी, इम्प्लीमेंटेशन सही नहीं होगी तो प्रॉफिटेबल कंपनी नहीं होगी, प्रॉफिटेबल नहीं होगी तो शेयर होल्डर्स को डिविडेंड्स कम मिलेंगे या शायद नहीं मिलेंगे. सो दैट मीन्स दैट द शेयर होल्डर्स आर रेजिडुअल रिसीवर्स. जब आपके कंपनी सारा काम कर देती है, रेवेन्यू से एक्सपेंसेस निकल आएंगे, फिर प्रॉफिट बनेगा, प्रॉफिट में या अगर प्रॉफिट बना और फिर प्रॉफिट में से फिर आप जो डिविडेंड बचेगा वो आप अपने शेयर होल्डर्स को देंगे, उसको हम रेजिड्यू कहते हैं कि जो सबसे आखिर में जो चीज़ बच जाएगी वो आपके शेयर होल्डर्स को मिलेगी. अच्छा, ये बात तो हमें समझ में आती है, शेयर होल्डर्स को भी पता थी, लेकिन शेयर होल्डर्स की कंसर्न बहुत ज़्यादा हो जाती है इस मामले में, बिकॉज दे आर कंसर्न्ड अबाउट द सेफ्टी ऑफ देयर इन्वेस्टमेंट. अगर बोर्ड सही डिसीजन नहीं लेता, सही इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं करता, सेल्फिश मोटिव्स हैं बोर्ड के, उस केस में इन्वेस्टमेंट भी सही नहीं होगी, प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी भी सही नहीं होगी, डिविडेंड भी सही नहीं होंगे और फिर शेयर होल्डर्स को रिटर्न ऑन देयर इन्वेस्टमेंट भी नहीं मिलेगा. सो दैट इज वन ऑफ द again disadvantages of the transaction theory. So this is the third theory that we've done so far, which basically states कि जी आपका जो मैनेजर है वो सेल्फ इंटरेस्ट में होता है, वो सेल्फिश होता है, वो अपने बारे में सोचता है और वो बाउंडेड रैशनैलिटी की बेसिस पर डिसीजन मेकिंग करता है. The next theory that we're going to talk about is the sociological theory. Now what is the sociological theory? The sociological theory is simple enough. It says that the composition of the board, transparency of the financial reporting, disclosure and auditing are considered central to realizing the socio-economic objective. So sociological theory basically says कि इसमें कि मल्टीपल चीज़ें हैं जो कि ज़रूरी हैं when economic objectives are to be achieved by an organization और when socio-economic objectives are to be achieved by the organization. Socio-economic क्यों? Because company profitable होगी, सैलरी ज़्यादा देगी, बाइंग पावर बेहतर होगी, परचेजिंग पावर बेहतर होगी, लाइफस्टाइल बेहतर होगा और जनरली लोग बेहतर होंगे. That's why आपका socio-economic objective आ जाता है. So basically says कि जिस तरीके से आप बोर्ड को कॉन्स्टिट्यूट करें या composition basically means that who are the members who are going to be part of the board. उसमें से कितने executive members हैं, कितने non-executive members हैं, कितने external members हैं, कितने internal members हैं. So the composition of the board, the transparency with which you are handling your financial reporting, are you following GAAP principles or not, कितने basically करते हैं, कुछ चीज़ disclosure सही है या नहीं है, सबको बता रहे हैं या नहीं बता रहे, auditing सही तरीके से हो रही है या नहीं हो रही है, are considered central to realizing socio-economic objectives. इनमें से कोई भी एक चीज़ मसला करेगी. अगर आपका बोर्ड अच्छा नहीं होगा, आपके socio-economic objectives मीट नहीं होंगे. अगर आपकी financial reporting अच्छी नहीं होगी, you will have problem with your socio-economic objectives. अगर आपकी disclosures मसला करेंगे तब भी आपका प्रॉब्लम है. अगर आपकी ऑडिटिंग कंपनी ने, ऑडिटर्स ने प्रॉब्लम्स आइडेंटिफाई नहीं किए और इनकन्सिस्टेंसीज आइडेंटिफाई नहीं की तो ऑटोमेटिकली आपकी कंपनी इज बाउंड टू मूव टुवर्ड्स अनएथिकल डिसीजंस. तो दैट मीन्स के बोर्ड की कॉम्पोजिशन, डिस्क्लोजर्स, फाइनेंशियल रिपोर्टिंग और ऑडिटिंग बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है in order to realize the socio-economic objectives. Now, what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses of this particular theory? First up is that this theory, assumes basically, or it is based on fair distribution of wealth in society. So the sociological theory assumes, and वो अपनी basis जो है या theory की जो basis हैं वो ये हैं कि there is equal distribution of wealth in the society. Question, is that true? क्या ये होता है, क्या ये है अभी? जस्ट लुक अराउंड योरसेल्फ, इज देयर इक्वल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ वेल्थ? एंड इक्वल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ वेल्थ है कि जी सबके पास कुछ ना कुछ जरूर होगा, बट दैट्स नॉट ट्रू. द रिच आर बिकमिंग रिचर, द पुअर आर बिकमिंग पुअर. द डिस्पैरिटी बिटवीन द रिच एंड द पुअर इज सो बिग कि या तो बहुत अमीर हैं या बहुत गरीब हैं, बीच की क्लास तो गायब ही हो गई. एंड देयर इज नो इक्वल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ वेल्थ. सो दैट्स वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट प्रॉब्लम्स ऑफ दिस थ्योरी, कि जब एक थ्योरी का प्रेमिस ही यही है कि इक्वल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ वेल्थ होगी और इन रियलिटी इक्वल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ वेल्थ नहीं है, तो फिर आप एक थ्योरी कैसे अप्लाई कर सकते हैं? द सेकेंड चैलेंज इज दैट द बोर्ड शुड नॉट हैव एब्सोल्यूट पावर्स, विच इज़ वेरी डिफिकल्ट. इस थ्योरी के लिए, इस थ्योरी को इम्प्लीमेंट करने के लिए और इस थ्योरी को यूज़ करने के लिए इट इज़ इम्पेरेटिव, एक्सट्रीमली इम्पोर्टेंट कि आपका जो बोर्ड है उसके पास एब्सोल्यूट पावर्स ना हो. एंड जस्ट अगर आपके पास मौका है या अगर आपके पास रिसोर्सेज हैं और आप बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स की पावर को स्टडी करना चाहते हैं, मे बी यू विल फाइंड मल्टीपल रिसर्च पेपर्स ऑन दैट, एंड आई वुड वांट यू टू लुक एट दोज रिसर्च पेपर्स. यू विल फाइंड दैट मोस्ट ऑफ द बोर्ड्स दैट वी स्टडी और मोस्ट ऑफ द बोर्ड्स दैट वी हैव डू हैव एब्सोल्यूट पावर्स. बस बहुत ज़्यादा पावर्स होती हैं चीज़ों को कंट्रोल करने के लिए. सो दैट्स वन ऑफ द चैलेंजेस ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर थ्योरी, दैट द बोर्ड शुड नॉट हैव एब्सोल्यूट पावर्स. नाउ बोर्ड को अब कंट्रोल कैसे करना है, बोर्ड को काबू में कैसे लाना है? गवर्नमेंट कंट्रोल इंटरफेरेंस में इंक्रीज लीडिंग टू कंस्ट्रेंट्स एंड रेड टेप. अब बोर्ड के पास एब्सोल्यूट कंट्रोल है, ये दैट्स अ चैलेंज ऑफ दिस थ्योरी. बोर्ड को कंट्रोल में कैसे करें, बोर्ड को काबू में कैसे करें? थ्रू रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस, थ्रू कोड्स एंड गाइडलाइंस जो कि आपके गवर्नमेंट देता है कि जी ये कर सकते ये नहीं कर सकते. और जब हमने पिछले लेक्चर में कहा था कि जी मेमोरेंडम ऑफ एसोसिएशन एंड आर्टिकल ऑफ एसोसिएशन एंड सर्टिफिकेट फॉर कमेंसमेंट ऑफ बिजनेस एंड डायरेक्टर्स की डिटेल और उनके एड्रेसेस और फलाना फलाना, ये सब चीज़ें कॉरपोरेशन को करनी पड़ती हैं. दे आर बेसिकली देयर सो दैट द गवर्नमेंट कैन कंट्रोल, एंड एज अ रिजल्ट ऑफ विच आपकी इंटरफेरेंस, एक्सटर्नल इंटरफेरेंस जो होती है, जो कि गवर्नमेंट की इंटरफेरेंस है, वो ज़्यादा हो जाती है. और जब वो ज़्यादा हो जाती है तो उससे बोर्ड की एक्टिविटीज़ जो हैं वो रिस्ट्रेंट हो जाती हैं. और जब वो रिस्ट्रेंट हो जाएंगे तो बोर्ड उतना फ्रीली जो है वो काम नहीं कर सकता. सो इट लिटरली बिकम्स अ वेरी विशियस सर्कल, इफ़ यू नो व्हाट आई मीन, कि जो आपका बहुत ज़्यादा विशियस सर्कल बन जाता है और आपको बहुत सारी प्रॉब्लम्स आना शुरू हो जाती हैं. और प्रॉब्लम्स बेसिकली क्या होते हैं कि इन दिस क्विक रीकैप के विशियस सर्कल कैसा बनता है. थ्योरी से इसके जो बोर्ड के पास एब्सोल्यूट पावर्स नहीं होने चाहिए और हम इसके साथ एग्री करते हैं. बोर्ड की एब्सोल्यूट पावर्स आप कैसे कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं? बाय हैविंग रूल्स, रेगुलेशंस एंड कोड्स एंड गाइडलाइंस. ये कोड्स एंड गाइडलाइंस, रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस कौन देता है? गवर्नमेंट देता है. जब गवर्नमेंट ये काम करती है, जब गवर्नमेंट बोर्ड को कंट्रोल करना चाहती है थ्रू रूल्स, रेगुलेशन, कोड्स, तो फिर गवर्नमेंट इंटरफेयर करना शुरू हो जाती है. जब गवर्नमेंट इंटरफेयर कर रही है तो गवर्नमेंट जो है बोर्ड की एक्टिविटी को रिस्ट्रेन कर रही है. और जब बोर्ड की एक्टिविटी रिस्ट्रेन हो जाती है तो ऑटोमेटिकली आपका जो बोर्ड है वो उतना फ्रीली काम नहीं कर सकता. समथिंग लाइक maybe if you could relate it to, let's say if you're wearing a very tight jacket. Now when you're wearing a tight jacket and you want to move forward and write something, you can't, because आपका हाथ की movement रुकती है. यहाँ से आपको feel होता है कि I can't move my hand. You feel like taking off your jacket and then writing whatever you want to write. Same identical feeling happens with the board as well. कि अगर board पर इतने rules, regulations, codes, guidelines होना शुरू हो जाएं तो बोर्ड की वो फीलिंग हो जाती है कि यार ये जैकेट टाइट है, आई कांट डू माई वर्क. एंड बिकॉज दे कांट डू देयर वर्क, तो कहीं ना कहीं उनका काम, बिकॉज ऑफ द टाइटनेस ऑफ दैट जैकेट और बिकॉज ऑफ द constraints that the government has put on them, उनका काम कहीं ना कहीं सफ़र होगा. शायद क्रिएटिविटी कम हो, शायद इनोवेशन कम हो, शायद वो ज़्यादा रिस्की या ज़्यादा ऐसे डिसीजंस ना ले सकें जो कि कॉरपोरेशन को लॉन्ग टर्म में हेल्प आउट कर सकते हैं, या मे बी द आउट ऑफ जस्ट रिएक्शन कि यार क्या प्रॉब्लम है, इतने सारे रिस्ट्रेंट्स, इतने सारे प्रॉब्लम्स, इतने सारे कंस्ट्रेंट्स, वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू वर्क, यार छोड़ो हम बस चलाते हैं काम, बस एवरेज ही पर काम चलता है, अब आप एवरेज परफॉर्मेंस ही नहीं देते. सो दैट्स वन ऑफ द वीकनेसेस ऑफ द sociological theory. Now the fifth theory is your shareholder versus the stakeholder theory. We've discussed it in the last class as well, and that's a simple theory कि अगर आप shareholder theory पर believe करेंगे then you will be thinking in terms of just doing things in your company or operating your company in a way which results in profitability. और जब मिल्टन फ्रीडमैन कहता है कि जी you being socially responsible if you are being profitable, then that's basically your way of thinking as well, keeping in mind the shareholders theory कि आप सिर्फ और सिर्फ shareholders की बात करेंगे और shareholders की benefits की बात करेंगे, और shareholder के benefits सिर्फ एक चीज़ है, because they've invested so much of money in the company, what they want is profitability and dividends and return on their investment. Now the shareholders theory versus the stakeholders theory is कि stakeholders theory ये कहती है कि जी yes, shareholders are important, but then so are the other people involved directly or indirectly with the organization, and they should be looked upon as well. And being the huge corporation that the company is, and considering the large number of resources that corporations and company has, we do believe that it is the responsibility of the company to take care of the society. Now taking care of the society does not mean, and again मैं बहुत दफ़ा आपको repeat करके बता चुकी हूँ कि taking care of the society does not mean कि जी आप प्रॉफिटेबल काम नहीं कर रहे हैं. टेकिंग केयर ऑफ द सोसाइटी मीन्स कि आप प्रॉफिट भी अर्न कर रहे हैं, आप प्रॉफिटेबल काम भी कर रहे हैं, आप कंपनी के लिए या शेयर होल्डर्स के लिए भी काम कर रहे हैं, एंड मीनवाइल you are also working for the betterment of the community, for the betterment of your workers, for the betterment of your maybe the workers' families, for the betterment of the society as well. So that is what your shareholders theory is. And again shareholders theory की एक premise ये भी है कि जी government alone cannot do all the work, because government कितनी बड़ी बड़ी कंट्रीज होती हैं, सब काम गवर्नमेंट कर ही नहीं सकती. इट इज इम्पॉसिबल फॉर द गवर्नमेंट टू टेक केयर ऑफ ऑल द नीड्स ऑफ ऑल द पीपल. सो अगर ये प्रेमिस सही है, अगर ये असम्पशन सही है, देन दैट मीन्स कि देयर शुड बी अदर एंटिटीज, देयर शुड बी अदर पार्टीज जिनको सोसाइटी के लिए काम करना चाहिए. प्रॉब्लम ये आती है कि मैं और आप जो हैं, हम सोसाइटी के लिए क्या काम कर सकते हैं. एट माई इंडिविजुअल लेवल, इफ आई पिक गार्बेज फ्रॉम द फ्लोर, yes, that's something that I'm doing for the society, but is it helping anybody? हाँ, वो शायद पैच क्लीन हो जाए, लेकिन मैं पूरे इस्लामाबाद को क्लीन नहीं कर सकती. उसके लिए मुझे किसी और एंटिटी की सपोर्ट चाहिए. वो एंटिटी कौन है? वो एंटिटी फिर आपकी कॉरपोरेशंस हो जाती हैं. सो स्टेक होल्डर्स मॉडल या स्टेक होल्डर्स थ्योरी बेसिकली सेज कि आप कॉरपोरेशंस can benefit all of their stakeholders, their shareholders, their stockholders, the customers, the employees, everybody, and meanwhile at the same time can be profitable as well. So that is what your stakeholders versus your shareholders theories. Again, shareholder theory जो है, जो लोग उसे believe करेंगे, वो ज़्यादातर आपके they're going to be money oriented. They're going to believe कि जी आपके जो reward है वो सब पैसा है, and all that the company should do is work for money. On the other hand, stakeholders theory पर believe करेंगे वो automatically मनी से एक स्टेप आगे जाकर सोचते हैं. दे विल थिंक कि जी जो हमने इनर सर्कल, इंटरमीडिएट सर्कल और आउटर सर्कल की चैप्टर 1 में बात की थी, दे गोइंग टू थिंक इन टर्म्स ऑफ दोज लाइन्स. दे गोइंग टू से यस, मनी मेकिंग इज आवर बिजनेस, बट देन वी कैन डू सम अदर थिंग्स एज वेल. वी कैन डू थिंग्स फॉर एजुकेशन, वी कैन डू थिंग्स फॉर मे बी पॉवर्टी, वी कैन मेक और वर्क फॉर work against environmental degradation, and do things for the society and for the community in specific and the society in general. So that is what your these are the 5 different theories that you have in terms of corporate governance. You have your agency theory, you have your stewardship theory, you have your shareholder versus your stakeholder theory, you have your transaction theory, and you have your sociological theory. Now the next thing that we're going to talk about is basically the importance of corporate social responsibility in corporate governance. I've already told you कि जी corporate social responsibility और corporate governance कहाँ fit होते हैं. Corporate governance is not part of corporate social responsibility. Rather, it is the other way around. Corporate social responsibility is part of corporate governance. So, ये कभी confuse ना होइएगा कि जी corporate social responsibility के अंदर corporate governance आता. Rather, it's the other way around. Corporate governance is a more general concept, और corporate governance के अंदर हम corporate social responsibility की बात करते हैं. And already we've defined corporate governance for you earlier as well. We've also defined corporate social responsibility. So, personally speaking, I do not think कि आपके जहन में कोई confusion होनी चाहिए with respect to corporate social responsibility as well as corporate governance. Agreed? Okay, good. Now, let's talk about importance of CSR in corporate governance. Stakeholders theory is integral to corporate governance in addition to the shareholders value. Stakeholders theory मैं आपको बता चुकी. Crux ये है कि कॉरपोरेशंस को स्टेक होल्डर्स के बेनिफिट्स की बात करनी चाहिए, सिर्फ शेयर होल्डर्स के बेनिफिट्स की बात नहीं करनी चाहिए. अगेन आई आस्क एवरीबडी एंड आई गेस द क्वेश्चन इज वेरी सिंपल फॉर यू. Are all shareholders your stakeholders? Yes, you're right. All your shareholders are your stakeholders. But question is, are all your stakeholders your shareholders? No, they're not, right? So इस चीज़ से आपको बहुत क्लैरिटी आ जानी चाहिए कि शेयर होल्डर्स सारे स्टेक होल्डर्स हैं, लेकिन स्टेक होल्डर्स सारे शेयर होल्डर्स नहीं हैं, सारे ओनर्स नहीं हैं. एज अ रिजल्ट ऑफ विच यू नीड टू कीप इन माइंड कि हाँ, हम शेयर होल्डर्स के बारे में सोचेंगे, इसमें कोई शक ही नहीं है कि हम प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी, डिविडेंड्स, रिटर्न ऑन इन्वेस्टमेंट की बात करेंगे, लेकिन हम शेयर होल्डर्स वैल्यू के साथ साथ हम स्टेक होल्डर्स की भी बात करेंगे. द स्टेक होल्डर्स आर एज इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर अ कॉरपोरेशन as the shareholders are. The stakeholders value, or the value of the stakeholders, is going to be as important, as integral to the concept of corporate governance as compared, or as the shareholders value is. Now, general acceptance is that the government cannot manage all needs of society and themselves. We discussed this just now 5 minutes ago. जो government है, पाकिस्तान की एग्जाम्पल लीजिए. डू यू नो हाउ मच पॉपुलेशन डू वी हैव? समवेयर अराउंड आई गेस मोर देन 18 करोड़ से ज़्यादा हमारी आबादी है. नाउ yes, the government is supposed to take care of them. Yes, it is a democratic government. Yes, government ने ही सारा काम आपकी सोसाइटी के लिए करना है. But reality, अगर आप open up your eyes and come back to planet Earth, tell me, can the government seriously do it properly? क्या गवर्नमेंट अकेले ये सारा काम कर सकती है? Impossible, हो ही नहीं सकता. So what matters is that the companies have to involve themselves for the welfare of the stakeholders. Government के साथ साथ companies की responsibility आती है कि वो stakeholders को के benefit के लिए काम करें या stakeholders को manage करें. अब question again आप ये कर सकते हैं, क्यों भाई companies, क्यों you just being unfair to the company? एक अच्छी company है, बड़ी है, पैसे वाली चीज़ है, तो आपको वो बुरी लगने लगती है. Just like कि आपको एक बंदा कहते हैं कि भाई if you're a pretty face, people are going to dislike you just because you're a pretty face. The same thing can happen. You can ask me this question कि जी गवर्नमेंट का क्यों भाई, आप गवर्नमेंट को क्यों कहते हैं? चलो नहीं कहते. You listen to what you have to say. Now just understand this, that ये बात समझ में आती है कि गवर्नमेंट अकेले सारा काम नहीं कर सकती, उसको हेल्प चाहिए अपना काम करने के लिए. अब वो हेल्प किससे लेंगी? मुझसे लेंगी और आपसे लेंगी. अगर वो इंडिविजुअल से हेल्प लेना शुरू करे तो वो हमारे जैसे लोगों से ही हेल्प लेगी ना, मैं और आप. अब मैं और आप जो हैं, हम क्या क्या काम कर सकते हैं? आपके पास इस वक्त जेब में कितने पैसे हैं? मेरे पास इस वक्त मेरे वॉलेट में कितने पैसे हैं? राइट? वी डोंट हैव इनफ मनी, वी डोंट हैव इनफ रिसोर्सेज, वी डोंट हैव इनफ टाइम, वी डोंट हैव इनफ एफर्ट. मैं और आप कितने दिन काम करेंगे? एक दिन 24 घंटे काम कर लिया, दूसरे दिन काम कर लिया 48 आवर्स हो गए, तीसरे दिन मैं और आप बीमार पड़ के बैठे होंगे और हमसे अगले 1 महीना काम नहीं होना, बिकॉज विल बी सिक एंड विल बी लाइंग इन द बेड. सो दैट मीन्स कि गवर्नमेंट को हेल्प करने के लिए मैं और आप जो हैं वो काफ़ी नहीं है. वी नॉट इनफ. फिर कौन लोग काम करेंगे? द गवर्नमेंट नीड बिग एंटिटीज. बिग एंटिटीज, व्हेन आई से बिग, आई बेसिकली मीन बिग in terms of money, maybe lots of money. Big in terms of human resource, they should have, that entity should have lots of human resource. Big in terms of physical assets, offices हों, chairs हों, computers हों, infrastructural चीज़ें हों. Now ये सब चीज़ें किसके पास होती है? गवर्नमेंट के अलावा corporations के पास. That is why we say कि जी the government cannot manage all the needs of the society, and since the needs of the societies have to be managed, since the needs of the societies have to be taken care of, it becomes the responsibility of the companies to involve themselves for the welfare of their stakeholders. Now corporations have the following responsibilities. जब हम corporations की बात करते हैं, जब हमें ये समझ में आ जाता है कि जी government और corporations need to work hand in hand, then that means corporations की multiple responsibilities होती हैं. First responsibility is your economic responsibility. Economic responsibility is basically profit making. They need to take care of their economic objectives. Economic objectives is basically utilization of raw material, utilization of natural resources, so that products and services can be created. Now once the products and services are created, then they need to be distributed, then they need to be promoted, and then there needs to be an exchange process so that the products and services or ownership of the products and services is transferred to the buyer, and the buyer gives money or the price of the product to the seller. So that's your entire economic process. And once this transaction has been completed, or this exchange process has been done where the buyer gets the product or the service and the seller gets the money, आपका economic responsibility आपकी fulfill हो जाती है. Now, the next responsibility of the corporation is basically your legal responsibility. Legal responsibilities we've understood कि जी economic responsibilities को pursue करने के लिए multiple resources use होती हैं, और अगर आप organization को contain नहीं करेंगे, control नहीं करेंगे, then organizations do have the tendency to become bigger and do have a tendency to go or grow out of your hand. So what you need to do is, with reference to the आप rules बनाते हैं, regulations बनाते हैं, codes बनाते हैं और guidelines बनाते हैं, and it becomes the responsibility of the corporation to stay within those rules, to stay within those guidelines, to stay within those regulations, and work within that framework and work within those boundaries. Because अगर आप boundaries में within the boundaries काम करते हैं, तो automatically आपको कोई problem नहीं होगी, ना auditing issues आएंगे, ना financial reporting issues आएंगे, ना disclosures issues आएंगे, because through these, चाहे आपकी disclosures हो गए, जब auditors जो होते हैं या जो financial principles होते हैं, they all become rules, regulations जो कि आपको fulfill करने पड़ते हैं, और जिसकी वजह से आप basically एक right path पर चलते हैं. So the second responsibility of the corporation basically is that they need to ensure कि उनकी लीगल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी पूरी हो. लीगल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी कैसे पूरी होगी? बाय इंश्योरिंग कि दे रिमेन विद इन द रूल्स एंड द रेगुलेशंस दैट हैव बीन सेट अप फॉर देम by different entities, that can be government, that can be anybody. Now the third responsibility for the corporations is ethical responsibility. Ethical responsibility is that, before I make you understand what the ethical responsibility is, you need to understand कि society corporations को बहुत कुछ देती है. For example, if somebody is building cars, now those cars are being built by steel. Steel is made from iron. Iron is a natural resource that is there beneath the earth or under the earth. Now that iron belongs to nobody. That iron is going to belong to Pakistan. Pakistan in itself कुछ नहीं है. Pakistan is made up of the people who are living in Pakistan. We the Pakistanis make up Pakistan for what it is today. So जब corporations गाड़ी बनाती हैं स्टील से, स्टील जो कि आयरन से बनता है, आयरन जो कि पाकिस्तान का है, that means that the iron that they're using belongs to me, or maybe belongs to you, or maybe belongs to him, or maybe belongs to her. So it's not really the corporations. So what I've done is, जब वो आयरन एक्सट्रैक्ट होता है, स्टील बनता है और फिर गाड़ी बनती है, I have interested the corporations. When I say I am basically the society. I have interested the corporation. I have trusted the corporation कि वो सारा काम सही तरीके से करेंगी, misuse नहीं करेंगी कहीं पर भी अपनी responsibility को, अपनी authority को और अपनी powers को. वो सही amount में और extract करेंगी, उसको सही से process करेंगी, उससे अच्छी गुड ग्रेड क्वालिटी का आयरन बनाएंगी, फिर गाड़ी बनाएंगी जो कि इतनी अच्छी होगी और इतनी अफोर्डेबल होगी कि मैं खरीद सकूंगी. सो द एंटायर प्रोसेस ऑफ एक्सट्रैक्शन ऑफ ओर टू लेट्स से मेकिंग ऑफ कार इज बेस्ड ऑन ट्रस्ट, जो कि मैंने जो सोसाइटी ने, जो कि मैं हूँ या आप हैं, हमने उस कॉरपोरेशन को दिया. सो आई ऑटोमेटिकली बिलीव कि जी कंपनी की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि वो मेरे ट्रस्ट को ऑनर करे. अगर कंपनी मुझे गुड क्वालिटी प्रोडक्ट बनाकर नहीं देती, दैट मीन्स अ डिसऑनरिंग माई ट्रस्ट. अगर कंपनी मुझसे सही प्राइस, बहुत एग्जॉर्बिटेंट प्राइस चार्ज कर देती है, दैट अगेन मीन्स दैट दे आर नॉट ऑनरिंग माई ट्रस्ट. सो व्हाट द कंपनी नीड्स टू डू इज कि उसकी एथिकल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी में फर्स्ट एंड फॉरमोस्ट जो चीज़ आती है वो ये आती है कि जी वो मेरे ट्रस्ट को ऑनर करे, वो इस काम को ऑनर कर रहे हैं, जो कि मैंने उसको इतना इंपॉर्टेंट टास्क उसको इसलिए दिया क्योंकि आई ट्रस्ट द कंपनी दैट द कंपनी कैन डू इट. सो द कंपनी शुड ऑनर ट्रस्ट. एंड द सेकंड एथिकल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ द कंपनी इज दे नीड टू बी कल्चरली सेंसिटिव टू प्रोवाइडिंग द राइट सर्विसेज. with respect to it becomes the ethical responsibility of the corporation to provide the right kind of products and services to the societies. For example, if McDonald's come to Pakistan and starts serving us non-halal food, now that's going to be against the ethical responsibility of the company, because it is important for a company कि जब वो society या different societies या different countries में जाकर अपने products and services को sell करती हैं, then it becomes the responsibility of the company कि जी वो culturally sensitive ho towards the needs, towards the wants of the country in which they're serving. And with respect to that, it is extremely important कि जी जैसी country है आप उसकी culture को देखें, religion को देखें, उसका social setup को देखें और अपनी products को automatically customize करें. That's why whenever these international brands are coming to Pakistan, you always see the halal product, or the product is made with halal meat. Why? Because we're culturally sensitive to not eating food which is not halal, and because of that we would want the companies to be culturally sensitive as well. So that is what we mean when we say they need to be culturally sensitive to providing the right kind of services to us. The fourth responsibility of the corporation are discretionary responsibilities, or they're sometimes also called as philanthropic responsibilities of the corporations. Now they are those voluntary activities and voluntary expenses that the company undertakes for the greater good of society, or which the company makes keeping in mind the society. Now discretionary responsibilities are those responsibilities which the company is not really supposed to do under a law. The company is not really supposed to do, they're not obligated to do something, they're just doing it because they feel KG, we are supposed, we're such a huge entity and we are supposed to do something for the environment, and we're supposed to do something for the society in particular, and keeping that thing in mind, they're doing something. Now it could be any voluntary activities. If you would go to Pakistan's Tobacco Company website and go on their corporate social responsibility link, you'll have their activities. For example, they're going to, if you're living in Islamabad and if you're moving around F10 and F11, they have a nursery whereby they give free plants to people. Then if you're moving to Jhelum, they have mobile dispensaries in Jhelum, and then they have computer literacy centers in Jhelum as well, or in the country as well. And then they have garbage disposal, or they recycle garbage as well for people. So these are all discretionary responsibilities of Pakistan Tobacco Company. Nobody's asking them to make nurseries and have mobile dispensaries and have computer literacy centers. They are doing it because they want to do it. So that is what voluntary services are. And then expenses or voluntary expenses, because opening up a dispensary or opening up a computer literacy center or recycling garbage does not come for free. That means that money is being spent on buying computers for the computer literacy center. Money is being spent on buying that ambulance which works as a mobile dispensary. Money is being spent on that, on buying the material or the equipment which is used for garbage recycling. So that means कि उनके सारे expenses increase होने. Automatically जब expenses increase होंगे तो आपके जो profit है, that's going to reduce, because profits will be calculated by deducting your expenses from your revenues. Revenues are going to remain the same, expenses are going to go up. That means that the percentage of profits are going to reduce. However, the companies are even still doing this because they feel कि कोई मसला नहीं, profits अगर reduce होते हैं तो होने दें. We still have certain responsibilities towards the society, we still have certain commitments towards the society, and as a corporation we are bound to do something for the community and the society. And keeping that in mind, they are doing voluntary services, they are making expenses which are going to help the society in specific, or the community in specific, and the society in general. So basically these are the basic four responsibilities that any corporation has, and कोई भी corporation हो उसको ये चार responsibilities करनी ज़रूरी हैं, because if any of these responsibilities are not being done, then automatically आपके stakeholders affect होंगे. इस economic activity से आपके shareholders affect होते हैं specifically, कोई और नहीं. इससे आपका आपके स्टेक होल्डर्स और शेयर होल्डर्स अफेक्ट होते हैं, एंड देन अगेन बाकी 2 से भी आपके स्टेक होल्डर्स, शेयर होल्डर्स सब अफेक्ट होते हैं. सो whenever a company is indulging or whenever the company is fulfilling all these 4 different responsibilities, that is the ideal type of company that we're looking for, that we're talking about. And again, जब हमने पिछले चैप्टर में हमने बात की थी कि हम ये नहीं कह रहे कि प्रॉफिट एंड वेलफेयर या प्रॉफिट एंड एथिकल एक्टिविटीज आर म्यूचुअली एक्सक्लूसिव और देर अपोज टू ईच अदर, कि एक होगी तो दूसरी नहीं होगी. हम ये बिल्कुल नहीं कह रहे. हम ये कह रहे हैं कि हाँ, आप अपने इकोनॉमिक ऑब्जेक्टिव्स को मीट करते हैं, आप अपनी इकोनॉमिक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज को मीट करते हैं, आप अपनी लीगल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज को भी मीट करते हैं. लेकिन इन दोनों के अलावा इट इज एक्सट्रीमली इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर द कंपनी टू मीट इट्स एथिकल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज as well as its discretionary responsibilities. So that is why जब हम कहते हैं ना कि जी corporate social responsibility, corporate governance के लिए क्यों important है, because corporate governance is going to involve all rules, regulation, codes and guidelines to do all these 4 activities: economic, legal, ethical and discretionary. ये सब कुछ corporate governance के अंदर आएगा. लेकिन जब हम corporate social responsibility की बात करते हैं, they are basically part of this and this responsibility. Ethical responsibility में भी आप corporate social responsibility को लेकर आते हैं, और discretionary responsibilities में भी आप corporate social responsibility को लेकर आते हैं. So let's stop right here. I know that we haven't finished the chapter and we should have, but let's just stop here and we'll just finish lecture number 6 right here and not go any further. And let's just quickly have a recap, and then I'll let you go and I'll say my goodbyes. What we've done in this chapter is we've basically discussed the 5 different theories governing corporate governance. We've talked about the transaction theory, the stewardship theory, the shareholder versus the stakeholders theory, the transaction theory and the sociological theory. And then we were just discussing कि जी corporate social responsibility की क्या importance है corporate governance में. And then we were discussing what are the 4 different responsibilities that any corporation, big or small, has. Those are your economic responsibility in terms of acquiring raw material, creating products, distributing them and making a profit, and then finally giving dividends to your shareholders. And you have legal responsibilities, which is basically fulfilling your or keeping yourself within the rules and the regulations that govern your operations. And then you have your ethical responsibilities, which results from honoring trust that the society has put on the shoulders of the corporations, and being culturally sensitive to the needs of the people in terms of providing them goods and services. And then you have your discretionary responsibilities as well, which are basically undertaking voluntary activities or making expenses or providing money or doing or indulging in activities which basically benefits the society, and you do these activities keeping the society in mind. चाहे वो poverty reduction हो, चाहे वो computer literacy हो, चाहे वो dispensaries हो, चाहे वो plantation of trees हो, चाहे वो picking up of garbage हो, चाहे वो garbage recycling हो. But you're generally doing this not thinking कि जी मुझे इससे क्या फ़ायदा होगा या मेरी कंपनी को इससे क्या benefit होगा. You're just doing these activities because you want to work for the society and you want to make the society better. So with this, I'm going to say my goodbyes. Until next lecture, I guess. Allah Hafiz.